r/AskReddit. What is the fastest you have ever seen a new coworker get fired? He didn't show up the first day, second day, or third day. I had to work a double shift for 3 days straight. Not fun. I answered the phone when he finally called in on the 4th day. He said, "I'm going to be honest with you. I've been in Orlando. My parents paid for a small vacation as a reward for getting the job. Would it be okay to start next week instead of this week?" What better way to celebrate the end of unemployment than taking a little break from work? I worked at a hotel. A good housekeeper got her cousin hired, so they had a party. Cousin was found asleep in a bed on her first day. Fired instantly. Guy got hired. Went through training and all that jazz. First day on the floor. He disappeared for 3 hours and then came back high as duck on like meth or something. A manager found him in the bathroom aisle, staring at himself in the mirror. Said manager looked at the cameras after firing him. The guy was there staring at himself for at least 30+ minutes. Edit to clear up some questions. I worked at Home Depot. He was in the aisle where we sell bathroom countertops and medicine cabinets. We also have mirrors in this aisle and that's where he was. Not in the bathroom, haha. Shrooms are the original face-changing app. Edit I am now 7x my karma after a year on Reddit. Thanks for the wonderful words. Took some shrooms. Said I had to pee. Everyone warned me not to look in the mirror. If you have even seen the Michael Jackson video Black or White, that was my trip. I could control it. I could choose a race. I love shrooms. A 19-year-old kid got hired to work the seafood counter. See him twice and then never again. Asked a co-worker what happened. He had closed seafood one night and was walking out of the store and the 5 pounds of crab legs he'd stuffed down the back of his pants fell out in front of the closing manager. Edit. It was at a Publix. No, it was not Jammy's Winston. Did this young man happen to win the Heisman Trophy? He was intercepted by the closing manager, so yeah, it was probably him. New guy started on Monday and was gone by Friday. The guy hit some racking in the warehouse with the forklift. Boss saw him do it, and the guy decided to lie about it when asked if he knew what happened. The only thing he did wrong was to lie to his boss. A shame really. Mistakes happen. And most employers are cool about it if you own up to it. Lying though, that's a bad idea. Edit. No castles or moats were involved. Just the pain of typing a comment on a tiny phone. Sorry. I worked for a big home improvement store that I won't name. All I can say is the stores are orange. We had a guy come into work shit-faced and run one of the forklifts into the outdoor storage racks with customers around. Another employee forcibly removed him from the lift and dragged him to the back. Dude was given 2 options. Walk and potentially face criminal charges or go to an inpatient treatment center on the company's dime, and his job would be there if he wanted it after he got out. I can honestly say it's the one actually good thing I ever saw the company do at a corporate level. I was fired on my second day as a line cook at a Mitzel's restaurant in Washington state back in the 90s. Turns out I was hired just to threaten the job security of a long-time line cook with an attitude problem. To keep him in line, he got the message and apologized to the manager. And I was fired for breaking yolk when flipping fried eggs one time. I'd been a line cook for a few years by then and thought I was doing pretty good. I was taken out the back door and terminated on day 2. Edit. This really seems to be blowing up. Happened in Oak Harbor back in mid-1990s. So yes, I did find another job since then. I was pissed, but got over it quickly. Cooking for a living was hard work. Standing in a hot kitchen for 10 hours at a time. Going home splattered with grease. Getting yelled at by waitstaff and management. I don't do it anymore. Thanks for all the HUGZ awards, guys. That's ducked up. Breaking yolk when flipping fried eggs. Wait, isn't it normal for yolks on fried eggs to break depending on the details around your style of fried egg? Edit. Reread your story. I've gotta pay attention and reread stuff before commenting. This guy hadn't even started yet and just had his introductory email sent out to the whole company, which ended with incredibly explicit details about himself. He got fired before he even started. Email edit. While this is blowing up, I don't have a lot more context I can give as it all happened so fast. Somehow the company deleted the email from our cloud inboxes when this was sent, but not before a colleague grabbed a screenshot of it first. He was going to be a tier 2 tech for the IT company I work at a couple years back. He supposedly apologized profusely, saying his friend played a prank on him but the damage had already been done. Jesus Christ. Who goes out and send emails that they like anime? WTFFFFF, this is insane. Co-worker quit his job. Great job. Great pay. Great benefits to work at a radio repair place. I mean, go to do what you love, and he was also a big radio enthusiast. Got fired the first day on the job for stealing parts for his own radios at home. Took him over a year to get back with us. Surprised they rehired him. He then got fired for being a security risk about a year or so later. Christ, he could have just asked if he could rummage through the e-waste bins. Most places are fine with that shit growing legs. Day 1 of training. Within the 6 hour of a 8-hour shift. Worked in an old crank handle service elevator at a private residential condominium. For very wealthy people. We told him just shut up and stare straight ahead. Don't speak unless spoken to, cause old rich people are mean and don't care about you. Well, what's the new guy do? Starts a conversation right away and asks the resident, how much money do you make? Edit. To be more clear, it was a 1920s skyscraper in downtown. Worked in an old crank handle service elevator at a private residential condominium. For very wealthy people. We told him just shut up and stare straight ahead. Don't speak unless spoken to. This is so comical. It's like old rich people need to have slaves cranking away at the elevator for them to make them feel special, instead of just having a machine do it. But the slaves can't act like people, they have to act like a machine. The IT crew at a large government office worked on a ticket system, meaning that the government workers submitted their problem online and one of the IT guys would pick it up on their end. The new guy just started his first day, logged into a computer at an empty office, and submitted a reinstall entire OS request so he could spend all day there. The manager decided to check in on him before lunch to see how he was doing, and he was completely asleep. Fired before they even finished his hiring paperwork. 3 hours into the first shift, guy lost it serving an annoying customer in a grocery shop. Throw a cabbage at her. The manager came and told him to go home cause he finished there. He wasn't surprised. I was standing next to him. It was an entertaining day. Did she deserve the cabbage? As a grocery store employee, they all deserve the cabbage. I work construction. We had 2 new hires that were friends starting the same day. Boss told one take a coffee order and come back. Took everyone's money and said he needed his friend to go with him cause it was a big order. They never came back. They quit a construction job to steal and split the cash from a few coffee orders. I imagine if they had stayed and worked a full day they would have earned more than that. Yeah, but it's hard work. A man was hired to do stock at a tea store that sold lots of delicate china. Manager walked into the back on his 3rd day and saw him just throwing boxes of teacups and teapots. Instantly fired. I called a temp agency to get someone to help me count inventory. They sent the guy over with a cast on his arm. That was my first WTF, but I went with it because we were just counting parts. Then I came back from lunch and this dude was in my office chair zoned out and drooling on himself with a can of air duster in his lap. I kicked him awake and escorted him out of my warehouse. Never used that temp agency again. Air duster, like most inhalants, can kill you in a snap. Lucky you found an idiot and not a corpse. Wait a minute. Stopping oxygen from getting to your brain is. Coworker smoked like every 40 minutes for 10 minutes. Then asked the boss if he could leave an hour early because he didn't take his lunch break. As my boss said, sure you can, but you don't need to come back. Where I worked, my boss gave benefits for workers who didn't smoke. This happened because smoking is really popular in my state. Over the last 10 years I found more and more places which don't hire smokers. Personally, as my job requires teamwork, having to stop my work just because someone needs to smoke sucks ass. Not only does he not his job, but I can't do it too. This was just a summer job at a fast food place. We had a new girl start and within 2 days it was apparent she was an idiot and everyone knew that. You could already see the manager questioning his decision. Then on her third day of work she said she couldn't come in because her mom was in a car accident and in the hospital. Turns out that's an easy thing to disprove in a relatively small town. Pretty shitty thing to lie about, let alone just to get out of work. And on your 3RD edit, day, third day. Corporate chain restaurant new server, aged mid-30s. Third day he was working, we had to fire him mid-shift. Why? Dude went into the public restrooms, with other guests clearly and they're using the urinal, and started doing lines of blow off on the edge of the sink. Why not just do it in the back with the cooking staff like everyone else? Cause then you might get asked to share. About 35 minutes he hired a guy to work for me as quality inspector for merchandise headed to Walmart and Target. He bragged about everything he stole from his last job during training and how they paid him more than I did. Well, I'm not holding him back from all that money, so I had some big guys escort him off the property. Had a guy say similar things about his old job once, and that they were really positive about him. Manager was happy to hear he would not be without a job for long when he fired him. Why even say stuff like that? Edit. So this comment tripled my Reddit karma. As a teenager, I worked at a bowling alley. Within an hour, a new girl was fired on the spot for dropping a ball on the foot of a complaining patron. Fired on her first strike. Spare me the bowling puns. 4 or so hours. When I was 18 I got a job at a grocery store, along with 3 others. We all started training together. On the first day we were training in the evening, and one girl asked to go home. She said her head hurt. They said fine. She clocked out, went to grab a grocery cart and started filling it with beer and liquor. The store manager walked over and asked her if she was having a party. She said yes. Didn't even try to come up with an excuse. Just, yep, I am. So I needed to leave early on my first day. Basically, he fired her. Do I still get the employee discount? Sure, but since you're no longer an employee it'll get reversed. Plus 10%. 5 days. My boss hired an executive chef. Dude didn't even know how to make a quesadilla. Well done. You pick those in the wild. I used to do a lot of field work on site investigation programs. Basically we'd hang out on a drill rig while the drillers took rock cores. We'd log the cores, take photos, do some downhole tests, etc. New engineer gets sent to site and gets assigned the night shift. Some people love night shift, but most people don't, hence sticking the junior with night shift. After 5 nights he calls the office and says he wants to come home because he's freezing and he hates it and he can't do it. Not clear to me if he quit or got fired, but it became plain pretty quickly that this job wasn't for him. I got pulled onto that program, and I asked the drillers what the guy's deal was. They had a propane heater in the back of their van, and despite repeated invitations to sit in the back of the van, Buddy just sat in his truck all night and shivered. In the middle of February. Too good for the drillers maybe. LOL, why wasn't his truck even turned on? Where I live work vehicles don't even get shut off during February. Good question. The driller van was huge too. It was essentially a cube van on treads. The propane heater made it nice and toasty in there. I didn't even need to wear my jacket back there. Plus they backed the van right up to the back of the rig, because it's where they kept all their rods and stuff. So it gave you a front row seat to the drilling. Before their first day on orientation, I got hired for a manufacturing job through Manpower, a temp agency. Me and a friend of my wife were both supposed to start on Monday at the plant for a week-long orientation. She got into a fender bender on her way to orientation and called them to say that she'd be a bit late, that she just needed to wait on the police to give a statement. The manager told her not to bother ever coming in. Girl was torn up. She took pictures and the police report into the hiring manager. Tried to explain things to the company HR managers, but no dice. She was fired before ever clocking in. Oh man, that stinks. It was out of her control. Mostly. That's ducked up. Making it up would be one thing, but pictures and police report should at least have gotten her a second chance. Worked in a grocery store for a while. New guy took a lobster out of the tank and removed the elastic bands on its claws. Then proceeded to put it back in the tank. The thing murdered all the other lobsters in the tank. I was halfway expecting a theft attempt by putting said live and free lobster down his pants. I thought he was gonna chase co-workers with it. Not gonna lie, I'd find that funny. This was a while ago at my old job. New guy gets hired as a busboy. He was super annoying and tried to insert himself into everyone's conversation whether they wanted him there or not. It only took a couple of hours for the whole restaurant to hate him. I was working the bar and he kept eating the bar fruit. I personally didn't care, but the manager did. Manager comes over and tells him to stop eating the fruit. He looks the manager in the eye and eats another piece of fruit. Manager says, "Really?" Followed by, "Come with me to the office." New guy promptly replies with, "Alright man, calm down. I can tell you got that big dong energy for a good reason," followed with cliche wink and nudge from his elbow. In front of me and like 4 other employees. I wanted to slam my face into the ice bin. It was so cringy to witness. He promptly walked out the front door 10 minutes later without his uniform on anymore. The worst thing about it was the manager was an insanely laid back guy. Hell, the whole restaurant was insanely laid back. You really had to try hard to get fired from this place. Had he not thrown in that big dong line, I'm almost positive he would have just gotten a slap on the wrist and kept the job. "You got that big dong energy," absolutely killed me. Why would you ever say that to anyone, let alone your boss? Guy had been working a few days at a barn. Decided to smoke right by bales of hay. Manager saw him and fired him right on the spot. At farms, you don't duck around with fire. First day of work. He walks in. Says, "What the duck is up, Dumbus," to the guy that parked next to. Didn't touch his new Camaro he bought since he got hired. The guy was the CEO of the company I used to work for. On visit to our branch. Literally 10 minutes into his shift he was signing release papers. I want to see the interest rate for a first day of work loan. Go check out any dealer near a military base.